Last week found me at Luna Pier, launching a boat with some good friends. I have been on the water with all these guys before and was looking forward to what we hoped would be a good day of walleye fishing. Our captain was Jay Nieman, and also along today were some friends of mine, Jim Monk and Dan Robitel. As we geared up and headed for Lake Erie, Jay filled us in.
Jay, what's the plan of attack here today?
We're going to go out and hit Maumee Bay and do some walleye jigging.
Yeah?
Running some blade baits.
How's it been over the last few days?
When we could get out, the fishing was good. Saturday and Sunday we did great. Yesterday was a little rough, so we couldn't get anything in. So hopefully today will be a little bit calmer.
We had planned to do this trip the week before, but a strong east wind kept blowing this lake up and making fishing all but impossible. We had a steady wind today, but not too bad. It was actually pretty good conditions, other than the water was very muddy. We put our drift socks out to make sure we could keep a good drift going, and then it was time to use Jay's deadly method.
The blade bait. Vibrating blade bait.
And how do you fish that?
Snap jig it off bottom. You want to lower it down to bottom. When your lure hits bottom, you want to snap it up about 1.5 feet, set the lure back on bottom. Snap it up, set it back on bottom. You want that lure to just bounce up and down off bottom. Most of your hits, especially in this muddy water, are going to come as soon as that lure touches bottom. So your snap back up is actually going to be your hook set. You're going to lift up and there's going to be one there.
Our first hour of the day was pretty slow, to say the least. We had been in a good morning spot, but for whatever reason, this morning spot was not hot today. Finally, Jay was able to scratch one into the boat.
Got him. Here we go.
Popped out of his mouth, too, right the last second. First little eater.
Well, he's nice and silver, isn't he? Nice job there, Captain Jay.
Thank you, sir.
Seems our other clowns were too busy hooking other stuff to catch fish.
You got that one hooked good.
Didn't get away.
Actually, with the water the way it was, we were not sure we would be able to find anything today. It was
Extremely muddy. Yesterday we had 5 to 6 foot waves out here. We're in 10 foot of water. It stirred up the mud. There's almost no visibility out there. As soon as the lure hits the water, it pretty much disappears.
So what does that mean for the fish?
Makes them hard to find it. They can feel the lure vibrating. They know it's there. They're going to come up and they're going to smack at it, but it's hard for them to actually, home right in on it and get a good hit.
drifting like this with no motor, with a rod in your hand, has to be the best way to catch fish. The style of fishing is much like the guys on the Detroit River who vertical jig, but out here your line isn't quite as vertical. These blade baits work very well for this.
You want to be in the shallower water, anywhere from 8 to 12 feet usually, up in the Maumee Bay, up on the reef, and I'm jigging blade baits. That's what I run out there. A lot of guys run, lead heads and purple hair jigs, but blade baits is my specialty, so that's what I always run on my boat. Yeah, I produce these myself. I got a local factory from my hometown that stamps out the blades for me, and then I had a company build me the mold to pour the lead, and then I powder paint and bake them all myself. I do the whole steps, put them all together, and take them to the local bait shops. This is my second year of really producing them myself. I couldn't find a brand out there that the paint jobs just wouldn't hold up for me. The whole bottom out there is solid zebra mussels. It would eat the paint off within one jigging trip, 6 hours. Paint would be gone. So I went to powder paint, and nobody else would paint the color patterns I wanted, so I just started producing everything myself.
Well, with Jay finding fish, the old lure switch was on. It was the clown pattern that seemed to be the ticket early.
Ticket. Could be the ticket. The captain says that is the ticket.
As soon as Jim Monk got his new lure in the water, we had another fish on. This one would end up being just a bit undersized, and we actually caught several fish this size today, which is a good omen for next year.
Little one.
Too small.
Just a little one.
Seemed like the new pattern was working well. Jim had another one on right away.
Nice one. Real nice one. Just popped out, too. That's why you can't give him any slack, man.
That's what I'm saying.
Nice fish.
Well, that's what we came here for.
We got to get Dan to catch one back there.
Catching some Z's, baby.
With us dropping our net in the water, it didn't take long for some other boats to start heading our way. This little drift we had found was holding some fish, and the word had spread. But for whatever reason, we seemed to be doing just as well, even with the added pressure. It took us a while to figure the fish out today, but once we did, the fun began.
Oh, he's out of it too. That's how short. That's why we're losing. Oh yeah. Get that on film. Get a close up.
Now, this kind of fishing is really about done now for the year. The fish will be moving out into deeper water as the spawning fish return back to the lake. Now, the fishing in Erie will be good for the next couple of months, just not this style. And I asked Jay what mistakes he sees people make when they try to drift and jig like we were today.
When you're snap jigging it up, if you notice that your lure keeps tangling around your line, what they're doing is you're snapping it up and you're putting it down too quick. You want to snap the lure up about 18 inches and you want to set the lure tight lined back on bottom. Guys will end up putting their pole right back down, the line goes limp, the lure will wrap around your line every time you do that. You got to keep tight line. And bouncing bottom. Almost all of our hits today came off bottom. And you have to set that lure back on bottom. That's where the fish picks it up from. If you're 3 foot off bottom jigging it, you're not going to catch anything up there. You got to bounce bottom with it.
We would drift about 10 to 15 minutes, then run up and do the same drift again if we had caught some fish. It seemed to be working pretty well.
Oh, get off the top. Oh, man. Nice fish.
Danny, boy.
That's on tray again.
Yeah.
That color's hot.
It seemed like one of those days where even the cameraman was going to get to catch some fish. I was able to get the feel and land some nice fish today. Like Jay said, this kind of fishing is a lot of fun.
I love jigging. When you set that hook and feel them, hands on, you know, when you're trolling, the planer board goes down, you grab it, you reel it in, you know. But when you're jigging and you get that fish hands on and the rod just doubles down to the bottom, I love it.
A limit today was looking pretty doable. We were just into Ohio water today, so you could each keep 6 fish, so our limit of 24 was soon upon us. After a slow start, we did rather well and were headed in by noon. All that was left was to get the boat out of the water and take care of the fish. And that ended up being easier than you would think. You see, here at Luna Pier, for $1 a fish, the owner himself will come out and clean your fish for you. What a deal. And speaking of deals, we just headed a mile or two down the road to Gander's Restaurant. You see, here you can bring in your fresh, clean catch of the day and they will prepare it for you. It doesn't get much better or much fresher than that. So literally an hour or so after pulling lines, we were sitting down to what can only be described as the best part of walleye fishing, and that is the walleye dinner. It was a day you hope for as you make your way to Lake Erie. There is still a lot of good fishing to be had and many a charter waiting for someone to call. So get out on Lake Erie if you can. It's hard to beat a good day on the water here in Michigan's Out of Doors.